to make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? No opposed? It's not. Okay, moving on to the financial report. Summerville. All right, if you guys will look in your agenda packets, we'll go over that really quickly. The first thing I want to go over is the room occupancy tax report. For the month of November, we collected $6,100.84. So the net collections thus far from the carry forward and July 31st until present, we've collected $78,342.46. As far as distributions, what we've paid out, we have currently paid out $61,449.51. So that leaves us with a remaining balance of $3,245.95. Keep in mind, if you'll look at the last commitments, some items we do still have left to pay. One of them is Comcast, which I'll need to discuss that in a moment, an amendment I'll need the board to make. We still have $2,804 we need to pay Comcast. Billboards, $10,920. Tony Angel's contract for website maintenance, $800. Franklin Main Street program, $3,500, and the Smoky Mountain Theater, $5,000. So keep in mind that we still have commitments of $23,024.40 left to pay. Any questions on that certain report?
Only comment is that, of course, we're only, we've only gotten 5 months worth of revenue reported here, so we've got most of the stuff is, other than Comcast, is on a monthly basis with a couple of outstanding expenses, so the cash flow will be there to finish that. So it's not like we're, fiscal cliff here.
But this way too, it makes you look at what we've still got committed before you start approving any
Right.
grants. When you know you've still, because it's just an assumption of what we're getting every month and we're a month behind. So.
That term has been banned, by the way, by federal law. Saying that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Moving on to the comparison, we had a very, very good November. Actually, the best November we've had on date, even since 2008. We took in, again, $6,100.84. That's up 6% from last month. So far, November is looking good. December, of course, we'll know next month at the February meeting. Any questions on that?
Well, just to say for December, being in the hotel business, it was down in December so, compared to the year before. But we had a lot of the construction too that was stopped in November.
Gotcha.
For all the building and stuff. So December just was an off month. And of course, if it doesn't snow, it'll continue to be off. Because actually, the snow actually brings people in this time.
Yeah, our December, I'm waiting to see the December figures, because our December was phenomenal.
Really? See, ours is
At the
off.
end.
Of course, we've been under construction too. So.
Yeah, that was the best December we've had since we've been open.
Can you contribute it to anything specifically?
A huge chunk of it was Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of one-nighters, right, at least they're staying Friday night or Saturday night for the show. We're not coming to the show, getting our cars and leaving.
Good.
Any other questions on the comparison? I do have one item I'd like to bring before the board. If you guys will remember back in March of 2012, the board agreed to partner with Comcast Media, Tony Angel, and Michael Rogers to do some advertising in the Atlanta market. The board had voted to pay up to $50,000. That has run over. Tony said it was cut off, so we're no longer doing that. But it did go over $2,934.92, and if it's the will of the board to pay that, what it did go over, I need amendment and a motion to do so.
What was that number?
It went over $2,934.92.
And that includes everybody.
To my it includes, unless Michael has another bill out, but then it's, as far as we know, that's it.
Okay. All right, I'll make that motion. That we approve $2,934.92.
And it went over due to,
A combination of things, Matt. Mike can tell you that Comcast is notorious with their billing to mess us up, although I'm not going to put the blame on them. Basically, we had a bill in March, which I did not have a copy of. Obviously, there was a problem where my copy had to come to Janet to get paid, and it was not in my file. Had I known that or remembered that, comes with age apparently. Had I remembered that, then I would have cut Comcast off in mid-November instead of letting it run through to Winter Wonderland and the tree lighting and such.
gotcha.
So, at first, we thought we were over about $300 until Janet brought this to our attention. Of course, it's a combination of things. I have my numbers, the town numbers are slowly coming in, so we could never get this thing reconciled. This has been going on how many months, Summer? We've been trying to figure this out, 2 at least?
2, I started to say 3 at least.
I've met with Summer multiple times trying to get to the bottom of this, just to make sure that everything was good. So, bottom line, it falls with me that we were over. But I don't think it's, you know, if it were 50,000 over, we would have a major problem. But
Gotcha.
I think it was money well spent.
Right.
I don't, you know, again, it was an oversight, and that was just.
So like at 50,000, we wouldn't have got Winter Wonderland,
That's
any of
right.
that covered?
That's
Is that
exactly
what you're saying?
right.
Okay. All right.
That's right. We had to cut it early. Not too long, actually, after Pumpkin Fest, we would have had to cut it off. That would also have dropped off a production of a video spot as well.
Okay.
So, but again, it was a combination of things.
Gotcha. I was just curious. It's-
Oh, sure, no problem.
They just
It's
let
just
it
a
run
combination
on,
of stuff.
We're on contract basis though, right?
Which is stopped now.
Okay.
Yeah, with Comcast, yes.
Right.
Yes, they allow us to cancel anytime within 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
And so I contacted Charlene early and said, we need to end this date.
Okay.
And again, had I known, I would have ended 2 weeks earlier than that, and we would have been fine.
Okay.
As that goes, it was about 2 weeks worth of advertising and a radio, and a new video spot for Michael.
Okay.
Which it would have cost a lot more than $2,000 if we had
Yeah,
That's what I thought. So we got it for a good deal.
One thing we do want to look at is what kind of changes were made on the hits and that kind of thing for the information.
Yeah, I've got that here.
He's got it.
I have a report for you tonight.
Thank you.
And so you made a motion, and do we have a
Made a
second?
motion to approve.
All in favor?
Hey,
Any opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the subcommittee reports. Finance and budget, which, Mike.
We've got nothing to say.
Summer said it all, huh?
Summer's report.
Okay, and then policy, rules, and procedure. And Vicki is not here, so we'll table that until next month. And then application review chair,
I can touch on that a little bit. This seems to, knock on wood, we're going to find some, be going fairly well with the application review. I'll use the example, the Scottish Tartans Festival is coming back. I was able to work with them to get their application and a copy of their insurance to the town attorney to review, so he can have ample opportunity and time to ask any questions that they may need before we even vote on it, to make sure everything's lined up. So far, this process seems to be working well. If anyone has any suggestions, things we could improve, or you'd like to see different, just let me know. But so far, so good with the new chair position.
Is there any other questions for the application? I'm gonna skip around a little bit because I know Tony has to leave. So Tony, if you could please give us the the
Sure.
report.
Yeah, so is it okay if I just stand right here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, first of all, for your consideration. First of all, let me cover your web traffic. We've had a good year. Really pleased with our progress. To give you a bit of information here, in 2011, the total number of visitors was 12,398. And in 2012, that jumped to 41,776. So,
Big jump.
good jump. And Georgia, for instance, to kind of show you what took place, in 2011, we had 1,630 folks. In 2012, 7,135. So I'll be glad to leave this with you. Kind of shows the trend of daily visitors, and it really tracks the money we spend with Comcast. When we're advertising on Comcast, our traffic is up, and the minute it stops, it goes back down. So it kind of mirrors that. It's really interesting. The shopping site, which is the companion site to Discover Franklin, had 3,717 in 2011, and in 2012 he had 10,508. So basically tripled. So that's good as well.
It's the right direction.
Yeah, it is the right direction, absolutely. Anytime we can move upward, we're in good shape. So I'm real pleased with that, and our search positions are still really good. I keep track on those on Google and Bing and Yahoo, and you know, Town of Franklin is either first or the Chamber, and then Discover Franklin's usually third. Sometimes Wikipedia jumps in there. It just depends on what Google's algorithm is at that particular time. They've been doing some crazy stuff here.
And one thing too, as a reminder to everybody, Comcast has also increased their service area.
Yes.
And they now go from the Alabama state line to about 60 miles east of Atlanta, and from the from the North Carolina state line to about 90 miles south of Atlanta. So it's a much larger area, and we've seen that. I mean, it's still about 70% of our customers are from the Georgia area. And,
We've done this for how many years now?
This is our second year.
Yeah,
Second
So
year.
it's being consistent with.
It is being consistent, and I mean, we're still showing growth, which I think is exactly what we're after. I'm real pleased with our numbers for it being a young website, and you know, really focusing our efforts in Atlanta has been a good thing, as we see by the numbers here. But as you know, when you put your marketing plan together and you branch out into some additional areas, you'll also see, you know, increased interest from those. Although North Carolina was still the #1 state for searches.
That one impressed me.
Yeah, we went from 2,306 to 12,800 and some odd in North Carolina. So it was North Carolina. It's a great list. It's interesting. North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Tennessee, then Ohio, Texas, California, Alabama, and New York State.
Ohio, so me too.
But, you know, just think of the people that are in Atlanta all the time. You know, they come in at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Comcast was absolutely great about putting us on their bonus reel. We got a lot of free spots down there. And, you know, you're watching cable at 4 in the morning when you get off the red eye, and you're trying to wind down and go to sleep, and then all of a sudden here's this little spot in Franklin, and I'm in New York City, and I'm gonna go, well, I'm gonna look that place up when I get back home, you know? So they go home and they search us or whatever, and I think it's where you see a lot of that traffic from. So, can I answer any questions? And by the way, thank you for allowing me another year to work with you all on these projects. I really enjoy it. Have a good time taking care of the science. So any questions I can answer?
That's a good information.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll go ahead with my next one, if that's okay with you. Our agreement to maintain those sites and keep track of your projects ends at the end of this month. And I had Candy and Summer included in your package a request to renew that contract, same price, $800 a month. And then I'll be glad to sit with you and work with you on your marketing strategy if you'd like for me to do that. I'll also watch things with a keener eye this year. So if you have any questions on that, I'll be glad to answer those for you. And again, I appreciate the consideration to be early on your agenda.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Not right now.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all have a good evening. Thank you
You
very
too.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you.
Okay, we're gonna move back up to the legal side, the revised TDA contract.
Thank you. At your last meeting, we looked at a revised contract to use with each fund recipient. The only other change that came in between the last meeting and this one is in section number 5 of that contract. I had forgotten that you try to get use of the TDA logos at the very least on advertising that's funded through TDA funds. And so rather than sort of trying to limit that, I have rephrased it just to say recipient agrees. This is the second sentence in that paragraph. The recipient agrees if required by the TDA to present proposed advertising to the TDA for approval prior to publishing. So it just leaves it to your discretion if there's some reason to think we're going to want to see this before it goes out. I don't know that that's even going to commonly be the case, but it's there if you need it. Otherwise, the language of that agreement is exactly the same. And then the only, flipping over to the rules of procedure, the only change to that between meetings is in section 7.1, where I think I had it phrased that the duties of the chief operating officer can be assigned to the secretary, but I've changed that to just give you a little more discretion in how the chief operating officer duties are assigned by just leaving it to the chair to assign it to anybody, any member of the TDA. So those are the two changes that were made, and I actually had one question, and I had a note, and I apologize for this, but I had a note that we talked about another contract, a separate one that would be for advertisers only. And Mike, I don't know if I want to say you had said we need a separate sort of contract for people who only advertise. Does that ring any bells with anybody else?
I believe we said that because the grant request is basically asking for funding,
Yeah.
and we figure with the advertising, since it's not really, the bills come to us and not them.
Yeah, on the
So for-
advertising, if we're paying the advertising directly, then I never had them fill out a contract because they're not getting the money.
Right.
We approved the bill for up to a certain amount, and then that bill would be forwarded to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if it met that amount and it did the advertising that was supposed to, that we agreed to, then we'd pay that bill.
Sure. So
In
this
the
would be a
case of
contract.
us handing them money, they would have to fill this contract out. So I don't think there was a need for a second contract for just advertising. Unless was it at the last meeting?
That's, yes.
That was one more quickly.
I think we're on the same page though, Mike, because I wouldn't tell you to get into a contractual thing with every advertiser that you're,
So
I think
basically,
if
they wouldn't
you
have to
agree.
fill one out.
Right, and I think that if a group has come and made an application and it's an adequate application and it's the kind of one that the TDA is just gonna pay directly for their advertising, I don't think you should get into a contractual. It's sort of like the thing with the town and the nonprofits.
Right.
I wouldn't go get into a contractual thing every time you have agreed to pay for $500 worth of advertising. It's more trouble than it's worth. We really don't need to do that. So, with that being the case, I think that unless you have any other questions about those changes to the rules of procedure in the TDA contract,
I think that should maybe be part of the language on the application up front, saying if you're just looking for advertising help, check this box. I mean, I don't know, until they just go down through there and start filling out everything,
I don't
be a
know,
little
that gives me
confusing.
a question for Summer. I'm not
I don't know.
familiar enough with the forms to know if, is that
It certainly wouldn't hurt anything.
Sure.
Well,
And
there's,
it's-
but they're doing that on that front page of the thing.
Grant.
They're on the grant application, it's not grant funding application. on the front page of that, if they're calling for advertising, then that's usually in that. As far as the budget.
It might be enough that Summer just knows if somebody's coming, they're the kind of group, that's the kind of thing that your chair who's gonna do application review can.
Make sure you bring it to their attention.
Yeah. And she'll know not to have to move them into a contract
Right.
situation if it's just for advertising.
Not fill out the whole form, if they just want me to billboard.
Right.
Just apply for billboard only with advertising.
So unless you have any questions, I would recommend you adopt the changes to the rules of procedure and that contract as now drafted.
So do we have a motion to approve the new contract?
Make the motion to approve the revised TDA contract and then amendments to the rules of procedure based on the town attorney's opinion of both.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So moving on to old business.
Was that for both?
Both, I mean, that for
Okay.
both. Mhm.
Okay, moving on to old business. We need a board decision on the grant request for the Smoky Mountain Center for the Performing Arts. But before we move forward, I think we do need to look at what funding we do have left available. With the assumption we know there's a few months forward, but we're already contracted for 23,000. We have 3,000 and some, but, I'm not sure what's all moving forward in the next few months for grant requests, but
Mhm.
I think we need to take that into consideration for approving. So, is there any discussion on the $10,000 that the theater is asking? And I do know that they have a sponsorship that we can sponsor, because the TDA, I think that would be a good way that we can help fund the theater, since it is bringing in prison, that you can be a sponsor.
Yeah, I'd like to look at, I don't know what the will of the board is, but I think this is something we could definitely look at when we start our strategic marketing plan. I'd definitely like to see us work something with the theater, as opposed to having them come, I mean, they don't know, I mean, every other month, for requests. I think that'd be an excellent opportunity for the TDA board and the Smoky Mountain Theater, if we can maybe consider a sponsorship of some type with them and work them into the marketing plan, along with others who've had requests.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I would make a motion that the table was pending the marketing plan. But again, I'd like that to be something that gets worked on fairly soon and not wait for months. Because if we can work out some kind of arrangement where they make one request instead of having them come to us, this will be the third time.
Exactly.
They've come to us asking for $10,000, and basically we can't afford too many more of those.
Yeah.
Right.
Without hurting some of the other things that we've got going on in town. So if we can come up with a marketing plan on a certain amount of money that will be available, then we could go ahead and make that decision at that time and then sponsor for a certain amount.
I think the sponsorship is the way to go to, especially with them, because a lot of businesses, I know, just with the hotel, I do it, and it's one advertisement for the year.
What does sponsorship entail?
We can get a sponsorship form, and they have different levels. I know I sponsor a show, I don't know if anyone else in there do, and
Gotcha.
in all their advertisement, you're basically in that, until that show comes out. But I think there's other ways as a business, or, the TDA, TDC, that you can sponsor and be at a certain level, or they add it in maybe every show, or we'll just have to get their levels.
Silver, gold,
Mhm.
sponsorship.
And that's the way that we can help fund them.
I'm just curious why they hadn't pitched that to this group in the past. It makes more sense to me than sort of being hit up for as much as it has been each time. And if it's, especially if it's something you can get an ongoing, you know, boost from it, that would make more sense for me.
I'll ask Nikki for a sponsorship for us, and then we can look over it, and then look over it by our next meeting, since we're gonna table this. Until we go over our marketing. And I think that should be part of it. Any objection to that?
Is there a second? Somebody's-
I'll second.
Sorry.
Okay.
So you all in
What's the
favor?
motion to table it?
To table it until we develop our marketing plan, and then make a decision at that time, because I know they will accept amounts less than $10,000. So, if we were to decide to give them 1,000 tonight, they'd be happy with that. But let's see if we can work out something that might be a little more beneficial to both. And then that way they wouldn't have to come back every three,
I
4
will
times
ask
a
that they
year.
come to the next one. Nikki was actually gonna be here tonight, but she has the flu. So,
I'll keep my second.
okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, moving on to a board decision on the grant request for state and Smokies.
I recuse myself from this decision.
I do have a question.
Oh, yeah.
At the last meeting, you mentioned that you weren't going to be down there for the full time, that you were only going down for a weekend?
For a week.
For a week?
A week.
7 days?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
My question is, why is this the only fair that we do? What makes this one so much better than any other fair anywhere else?
Well, historically, Florida's been a great market for us. And the feedback that I've gotten, that I've asked around from the folks at Calisaja Campground, they say it's a good market. The research that I've done looks like a good market. Last year, 500,000 people came through the gates. I think if a well-informed native of Franklin or Macon County can go represent us, I think it's a good opportunity. For one-way travel expenses.
Anybody have any questions?
What's your opinion?
Well, I've checked into it in the past. I did not do the show. To me, I mean, Florida is a good market, but I know that that's not the only fair that there is. I mean, I know Georgia is our market. How come we're not going to the Georgia Fair? North Carolina's obviously kind of looks that it's a big market. We don't go to theirs. And I don't think a fair is the way to go. And if we were going to sponsor, I think that that's something that should be also in a marketing plan for the TDA to make a decision if we want to send somebody or not. I mean, because if we do that, then anyone, just my opinion, could come and say, hey, I think this is a great thing for the community, but then you got, and not that you wouldn't support everyone, but I think that we would have to support every business here within the city limits for the show. It couldn't be just a certain entity. I mean, it would have to be a whole Franklin display.
And
But-
I would be representing Franklin as a whole. Booth's gonna be set up. Franklin Chamber of Commerce is supporting this, the TDC is supporting this. It's a marketing effort as for Franklin. And how our funding requests are set up, isn't it? That applicant A comes 2 months prior and then does a pitch, and any questions asked, and any kind of, any kind of questions want to be asked, or any concerns of the board are asked then, and then, basically, we're voting.
And my concern is, I just don't think that it's something that's, really.
Of value.
to us.
zero value.
I'm not saying it's a zero value, and it may be for some, but I don't think that it's something that I would fund, or I would actually.
Well, my concern was, because I was under the impression we were only going down there for a weekend. I couldn't see sending somebody down for a weekend on a 17-day show. I know that, because the next one up is the mine for the $340 for the same thing. But they would be going anyway. They were heading there anyhow, so they're just covering the extra booth costs for setting up the displays for Franklin, separate from their business. So those were my concerns with it.
I'm in tourism for what I do for my job. And it's hard to get of course I'm biased, but the amount of work that I bring to the table promoting Franklin as a whole, it far exceeds $700 and some odd dollars. This is adding the two together. This is obviously my opinion. But if I get two families to come to Franklin and stay a week, go shopping, stay at Microtel, go out to eat, I think that recovers it. But, again, my opinion.
How do we get feedback from the show, basically?
I believe I put it in my report, in my meeting request, that several ways of measurement. It's a good old-fashioned sign-ins to creating a Foursquare check-in at the booth, integrating Facebook interaction with them, several things.
They have to fill out a report.
So I guess we'll need a motion, whether we even grant this request. And so we all have questions.
Mr. Henry, or John, can I ask you a question? Given the, since Matt recused himself, this is just for personal information, will we have enough to vote on this?
You do.
We
Yeah.
still,
You had a quorum
I just
to
wanted
be
to
able
clarify
open the
that.
meeting, and now it's majority of those present able to vote, so it's there are 4 of you that can vote on this particular.
Okay.
Well, based on the information I've got, I'd be tempted to give it a try and see what the report says. But, because we are only talking $400.
I don't, the only, go ahead.
Drake is underwriting the bigger part of this cost, so if Drake felt that way, then we would obviously not, this would not be part of the corporate plan.
The only issue I had was we have two groups, one group that's going down there already. I guess my only thought was, looking at the budget that we do have, until we can come up with a plan, which we desperately need, and I've got a little bit of a pitch to make at the end, I just can't see double dipping like that to give. I know the TDC for a fact granted some of the costs to Katie LaFlamme to come before the board.
It's a portion of the booth.
A portion of the booth, and they also, one of the board members made a motion that if the TDA did not pick up that half, that the TDC would pay the rest of that. With that being said, do you want to, is yours a motion? There's not a motion, then I'll make a motion to deny this request.
Doesn't matter.
Well, look, as far as one vote was.
Okay, so board decision on the cost edge of River Mine. So basically
I'll make the same motion. I'd make the motion to deny this request as well.
Based on TDC's commitment to
Not
match
solely
that.
on that, not solely on that.
That just makes no sense to me. Got two groups in Franklin. Butting heads on that. Charged with promoting tourism.
I don't think it's bumping heads, but I think that if the TDA is gonna sponsor something like that, then the board needs to make a decision if that's what we're going into. Then we have to have that person go and pay it. I don't think that, because I'm sure there's a lot, Drake's does a lot. I know for the Fun Factory, that was one that we did not do when I was with the Fun Factory. We didn't do the fair. And I know the shows that they have to pay for them out of pocket. I'm not saying that they should have to do all of them, but I think that if the TDA wants to have a booth and do a booth, then we should put that in our marketing plan, and I think that it should be someone who pay 50 cents. And not that you wouldn't represent us good, Matt, I'm not saying that.
Tough sell right now.
No. I'm entitled
Duly
to an
noted.
opinion, and that's
Sure
mine.
are.
So, I second your motion. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to the board decision on April Fool trail date for the 2000. And is there representation here for that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is kind of like a sponsorship form too.
Yeah, this is funding for the event. This is the town's portion of the event.
But
Linda
it's not
runs
the
this.
sponsorship.
Pardon?
I'm confused. Is it the sponsorship?
No.
No, that's the next item under new business.
I'm sorry.
The April Fool's Trail Days is the town's portion, which Linda operates.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself, and it's because he called me. So the board decision on the April Fool trail days for the 2000 grant. Any questions on that? I'll just say I do because I was thinking the other.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
To what? I'm sorry.
I might make a motion to approve the $2,000 for the April Fool's Trail Days.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to new business. Funding request for the Splash Garden Museum. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. This is my first year being involved in this. It's a learning experience for me. Our plans are to bring more people into Franklin. That's the reason we have made it a 3-day event instead of a 1-day event. We're now in the process of locking in the harp competition, which has been held in Rayburn in the past years. That right there will bring a lot of people just into Franklin. So that's a big deal. So we have on Thursday, we're having the Take to Scotland golf tournament out at Mill Creek. There will be a clan gathering at the Mill Creek Country Club that evening. On Friday, we will have the harp competition in McKaylee down at Rathskeller. And on Saturday will be the normal festivities, with all the vendors and the entertainment and the parade and, all of the normal festivities of the Taste of Scotland. We have a lot of things locked in already. Have you familiar with who Dale Stewart is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He just recently kayaked the 1,200-mile Trail of Tears that when they sent the Cherokees you know, out. Dale is going to get involved in this. I met him about a month ago, and Dale wants to get involved in bringing back the Taste of Scotland. He was just by the museum just a day or so ago and was talking to Ronan about it. So with Dale on our side, and hopefully getting us sponsors, we're not calling them donations this year, we're calling them sponsors. So even the lowest level can be a sponsor. So we're trying to get the people of Franklin involved, and monetarily as well as support. This year is the hardest part of getting it put back together again, because it's been a year. 2014 will be easy. Our biggest thing right now is that I'm concerned about is advertising. I need to get the word out to different facets. We have a advertising committee. We have an advertising committee for that. We have several committees that's going to work on the whole overall picture instead of just one person. Me, Claire Sminsky, she was a wonder. She gave me this book that they put together, and it's amazing the hard work that she did to put this together. So we're hoping for some advertising funding. Our biggest thing that I would like to see is some of the billboards that's available. See, that would be an awesome way to get people to see this when they're driving through our little town. So the billboard advertising is really the way that I would like to go for us. That's going to give us the most exposure to drive by people. We're running a little behind where we wanted to be. The chamber was going to be involved, and that didn't work out. So it put us behind a little bit, but it's nowhere close to giving us a problem. I had a meeting today with the people down at the Presbyterian Church. A lot of the guys are working with me on that. We have our own website that's up. It's already posted. Several things already posted on it. But I do need to get some of the advertising facets taken care of pretty quick. Southern Living, I have until April to get the Southern Living in. There are some other ones that are not as expensive as they are. But that's the one that I'm concerned about, because that has a wide exposure. A lot of people read the Southern Living magazine. So it's the things that I'm worrying about is the advertising, the billboards, and to get the people drive by. We have a lot of people drive to Franklin. Every place I go, people refer to Franklin, North Carolina. As I stated once before, even though I am not a permanent resident here, I feel like I am. I'm a Tennessean by birth, which is raised over the mountains. I do have relatives in Franklin. I have relatives buried here, so that makes me a local. But that's the thing we're concerned about. We feel that we can really put this together for this year, and from then on it will be better, because now we'll have a foundation, which we lost during last year's absence.
The Southern Living that comes up in April, how is the advertisement?
Well, there's different levels of it. One level is $1,500. That's where we would get our most exposure from. I'm not sure what the cost of the local billboards are. You know, we have a committee right now that's going out, and I will be going out, knocking on doors and getting sponsors. But then, like it's, to get the whole thing funded, we figure this is going to cost us somewhere around $12,000 to $13,000 for the total package. And we feel that with the program we got going right now, with the effort that we're putting out, that we will find enough sponsors, especially with Dale's and helping us with this, to more than fund this event for this year. Franklin is an awesome town, and people need to know about it. And this, we feel this is one way to inform more people. You know, when you have the only, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, the only Scottish tartan museum in the world is here. Nobody else can say that but us. And we need to promote that fact and get people. I can remember previous Taste of Scotland, the town was just swarming with people. Well, we want to get that to happen again with the 3 days event. Locking in the harp competition, that's going to be a biggie for us. Because that drew hundreds of people down in Rayburn. That's a big deal, the harp competition. That will be held at the Presbyterian Church. We've already got permission to use their hall. So we're making a lot of progress. Again, we're a little bit behind, but nothing that we can't overcome from where we wanted to be at this time.
What are the dates again?
Okay, it's going to be the 15th, 14th, 15th, and 16th.
14, 15.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Oh, one thing, this is a biggie, I think. Of course, we wanted to make it something new and different. That's never happened before. As you all know, the Cherokee Indians and the Scots really blended and mingled when the Scotsmen first came to this area. And with Dale's assistance, we're going to try to have some of the Cherokee tribe over here, and we're going to put together a little village type of thing so they can see how the Cherokees and the Scots intermingle.
It's a very nice idea.
So we thought that would be a little story. I don't know if we've heard this or not, but the French were trying to build a trade treaty with the Cherokees. They were here at the same time. They used to go in with all the little trinkets and stuff to, you know, sway them over to their side. One lone Scotsman walked into the main village, and the chief was so impressed with his bravery that they started trade relations with the Scots. That's what we want to build, this mingle with the Cherokees and the Scots for this year's thing. We thought it would really be a great information. A lot of people don't know that. You know, so we want to expand the knowledge of Scots and the Cherokees. So that's my clue.
It's a good way to promote too, is the Cherokee.
Yeah.
A lot of people going.
Oh, yeah. So,
Thank you. Thanks. Do we have any questions?
Do you know who manages your Facebook page? You've got a healthy.
yes, that's
audience.
Jim Carey at the Presbyterian Church. Jim also the one that set up our website for us.
Is it C-A-R?
G-E-A-R-Y.
G-E-A-R-Y. He's done a wonderful job on it, and we keep posting things on it as we mail things in. And we've already had quite a few hits on our website. So it's starting to get attention. People are starting to go visit our website.
Is the website new?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the address?
Pardon?
What's the address?
Oh. You have my
I
card?
was trying to think of your business card at the office.
You know, I walked out tonight and I left all my cards on the table, and it's got our website on it. I can get that to you, man.
Scotland.
It is on the kiln.
Yeah.
It's in his other kiln.
Yeah, it's in my account. I normally walk out with a handful of cards, and it's got the website on the back of it.
Okay.
But it is set up, we are getting a lot of hits on it.
Jim Gary at, what church is he at?
Presbyterian.
Is there any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Number one, a bit of information. When you request billboards from us, we pay for everything but the artwork.
Okay.
You set up the artwork, and then that goes to Tony Angel, and then beyond that, there's no cost for it.
Okay.
So whatever you can set up that you want to be on the copy on the billboard, but that has to be done.
A meeting with my committee on Thursday at the church, and I'll put that on a priority that we need to
Yeah,
get
because
done.
the the sooner we can do that, get that from you, the better we can do on the billboard, so.
Because it takes a month for them to make the posters if the county is funded.
Okay, I'll make that a priority, and I'll get that just as soon as I can.
And one
And we'll
outside of
find
the
out
trail
how many are
days.
available.
Yeah, outside of trail days, I don't know if Linda's coming, but I'm trying to remember. if she was.
Tony keeps record of, that was one of his things, is to keep record of which ones are available and when.
Yeah.
So we can get a schedule
Okay.
once we approve the grants and
Yeah,
stuff.
the other thing, you had mentioned that you're behind, and I know my wife had involvement in the last couple of these, and she agreed to help with the Kaylee,
Right.
but there's not been any contact.
Okay, that-
Nobody's, you
I
know, somebody
contacted-
called her, somebody called her, and
Yeah, that was
there's
me.
been nothing since.
Okay, I will,
So-
I just got up here Saturday,
Okay.
so one of the things that I came up here, I'll be here for a couple of weeks, get all this stuff nailed down. I will contact her. I'd already talked to the people down at the Rathskeller, and they're all for it, and will help us make some vendor
Okay.
choices with it. But I will call her tomorrow
All right.
and get
You
back
give
with her again, yeah.
Yeah,
She
let
was
me
on my
appreciate
list
it.
to call, so.
Okay. That's good.
Thank you
All right,
so much.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate any consideration you can give us. But we want to bring this back, and we want to make it bigger and better than it's ever been. That's our plans. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Choi. Now, moving on to the Appalachian Trail. I was ahead of myself, I'm sorry. I do apologize.
I'm
And I
done.
like your ringtone, by the way.
I apologize now if it was off again, because I don't know if it's off or not. I'm with the Napa Hadlock Hiking Club, and 5 southern clubs are putting on, or sponsoring, if you will, the biennial with the ATC. ATC is actually sponsoring it from Appalachian Trail Conservancy. We will attract approximately 900 to 1,000 people going to Western Carolina, Cullowhee, in July of this coming year.
This year.
And they're looking for any sponsors that we can get. I've got a brief description. I'll pass one to the ladies' side, one to the guys' side. I feel like I'm at the junior high dance here. If I'd known how many I needed, I would have made more. I apologize. The first page there basically just gives you an overview of the biennial and what's involved. There are hikes every day, there are excursions every day, and the first 3 to 5 days, when I say 3 to 5, the first 3 days extensive meetings in classrooms, and seminars, and then they're going to have 2 nights after that where they'll also go over some things. On the second page, you get an overview of the hikes, and there's over 66 hikes that'll take place. And when I say 66 individual hikes, there are actually over 100 that they'll take. Some of them duplicate themselves. So you might have the same hike on Monday and Wednesday, so people can go see particular areas, like Standing Indian or some of those things like that. On page 9, which is the next page after that, those are actual descriptions of some of the hikes and what goes into it. And again, these are some of the local ones only. Most of the hikes take right here in Macon County, coming through Franklin. You also have the an idea for the workshops that can be seen on page 21 and 22. The reason for those taking place, again, to give the officers, if you will, of the clubs and any other individuals ideas on camping and how to run their individual clubs and things of that nature. On page 31 is the part that might interest you. This gives you an idea of the excursions. One of them will be coming right here into Franklin, fortunately during Folk Fest. So it works out perfect. And that's number 3 on that page there. Their write-up is a little different than what I gave you, but it's still there. I'm glad someone else has a ringtone.
It's not as nice as yours.
And then page 32 there also just some more of the excursions, one of those being to Cowie and Rickman Store and things of that nature. So it brings will bring a lot of people in here. The excursion here to Franklin shows only 19 people coming down, but I've already told them, if anyone else wants to come, there's no problem, we can get up enough cars, and then it's not like it's going to be a problem. And if you had a bus or something, and say, put them all in one area, but then people couldn't go back early if they had to for any reason. And again, how much will it bring to the town? I don't know. You guys know you throw a wide net, you get what you can. The sponsorship form there, which is the second part, now you can start at $10,000 if you'd like to sponsor it. I don't see that happening from what I'm hearing as far as budget concerns. But it goes all the way down on the second page to the 150. And with that, you can set up a table at the conference. They're usually only there the first 2 to 3 days, as far as working the tables and things of that nature when people are coming through registration along that area. But you do get an exhibit table, and welcome to, tell them how great a place Franklin is.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't catch your name. What was your name?
Don, Piero. You want me to spell that? It's not like Smith.
Please.
D-E, capital P as in Paul, I-E-R-R-O. Gail Lehman's here. She set up all the hikes. Dr. Choi's here because he's my second in command. Whenever I'm sick and I try to go, and so he has to attend meetings.
Is there any questions? So with the $150, we would basically, let's say we went that route, with the vendor exhibit table, for $150, we could basically, we'd be listed in the program, and then we would have a table there that we could set up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another thing they're doing, just so you know too, there will be a story in Journals, which is the ATC magazine, going out that will emphasize Franklin, and that's already in the works.
Journeys here.
Yeah. And which I thought was kind of nice, but they realize not as many people are going to stay up near Western Carolina as will come down here, because most of the hikes are right out of the Franklin area.
I think Franklin advertised the last biennial meeting in Virginia. That's when they advertised in the ATC.
And also being an ATC community.
And Gail is coordinate all the hikes take place, so any questions about it?
And what was your last name, Ammon?
Layman, L-E-A.
Layman, okay.
We have all the hikes through Macon County, Swain County, and Graham County, even into the Smoky Mountains. So people will be passing through here quite a bit.
We still have hikers right now, I was shocked.
Yeah. Especially with the weather being as
I mean,
nice
it's
as
been
it
nice, but I was like, woo, it'd be cold normally in January, but we just had some hikers come through, and I was shocked because it's not. But they said they started in Maine first.
What, are they gonna house the participants at the university?
Yes. Now, they can come to the hotels and motels in the area. But I would say the majority, if they're coming from out of state, probably at Western Carolina.
Because I attended the one in Virginia, and it was located at the conference center.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we already heard Connie speak. Items from the board?
I have one thing. I passed out to each of you if you guys just want to look. I sat down and I've kind of looked just at the past year, some of the expenses we normally commit to, going back to discussing about coming up with a marketing plan. So if you guys want to just maybe review this, and this is just kind of some information I thought I'd provide. The first one, the advertising expenses, to my knowledge, and Mike, you can probably chime in and bring a little bit better knowledge. Allison Outdoor, the billboards, that's based on a year. We normally commit $21,840 there. The associated posters is basically if a group comes and we grant them billboards, the average cost is around $135 to change that poster for that group. So I figured around $2,000. Then Tony Angel Media, we pay Tony $9,000. That's $50,000, and with that $50,000, that includes the actual bill for Comcast, Michael Rogers' production cost, and Tony Angel's cost. So there's really 3 bills within that one. And then some of the festivals, I mean, there'll be more that you guys could probably think of, but the Franklin Folk Festival, I put in the Scottish Tartans because since they were coming back. One thing we did this past year, the Smoky Mountain Rumble, Pumpkin Fest, Winter Wonderland, and then April Fool Trails Days. As far as miscellaneous expenses, and I mean, this could be ongoing, the Smoky Mountain Theater, so far this year, we committed $15,000. The Nantahala Hiking Club, that was one we did for $500. It was basically more of a, we just paid their advertising. But I thought this might just be a way for us to start. We could add to the list, but kind of something to start with, better than nothing, I guess. But that's all I have.
Yeah, those cover our festivals.
Mhm.
Yeah, Associated Posters is just a copy that goes on the boards. The Allison is the cost of the billboards monthly, and we have 7. We have 2 with the permanent sign on them that are
The vinyls.
the vinyls, and then the other posters are 90-day guaranteed paper. And like we would do if the Tartan Festival is looking for available billboards, whatever that number of billboards is, it'd be roughly $135 for each billboard to put the copy on them. And that includes printing it and placing it and maintaining it. So.
Just for feedback, what about the Comcast? I mean, with Tony given the numbers, I was just to get some feedback, you know. I mean, the numbers have tripled compared to our first year.
Yeah, I gotta say that, I mean, 70% of my business is still coming from Georgia, the Atlanta area. And yeah, most of it's within the Comcast viewing range. And I've got to feel that there's some impact. This year's gone up. It's the first year in the last 3 that we've turned around. And we've had the best December we've ever had in 5 years. So, I don't know. It's a decision we're going to have to look at when we talk about it, because it has, the only thing I can say is it has had an impact. We're seeing a lot more local, what I would say, Eastern Tennessee, Northwestern South Carolina and North Carolina coming to our place. But that's been offset by a much greater number coming from Atlanta, so it's still running about 70%. And the only thing I can tie that to is the advertising we're doing in Atlanta. I mean, that's a legitimate thing.
I agree with Mike. I mean, you can't deny the numbers. My only issue with it is typically we have a $100,000 budget and we're already committing $50,000. That's the only issue I have. That's a big hunk. But I mean, if you're seeing results, but I think that's something the board definitely needs to.
And the first year we did this, if you remember, the first year we did this, when we got his report at the end of the year, we went from like 1,200 hits on our website to 13,000 with the advertising. Now we're at 41,000. So there's got to be some. We're pushing some button down there that's generating that. And with those kind of hits, there's an interest there. And I think that's helped.
And that's something I think that we need to think about for the budget. Like you said, it's $50,000. Of course, we ran over some. But do we pick certain months? Do we want to keep airing this? Do we want to commit to $50,000 again? I mean, or
yeah, those are the decisions.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we need to think
do we
about
shorten
those.
the time? Or, no, those are the things.
But who's watching TV too? You think about we're airing them sometimes in the busy months. I don't know, June, July. I'm not sitting watching the TV, which I don't anyway. But maybe thinking of the off months is when we should be airing, because that's something we need to look into if we're wanting to bring people in.
And there was comments that nobody sees the ads here. Well, you won't see them here because this isn't a Comcast area. But the map that they gave us last season, when we started last year in early of 12, the map they gave us, it showed a much larger area that they covered. And like I said, when you measure it, it's from, as a matter of fact, there's even some in, what's immediately west of us, Clay County. Clay County is in Comcast's Georgia network. So they're seeing ads in Clay County for us.
Did you have?
But it runs from the North Carolina line, 90 miles south of Atlanta, and then from the Alabama line to 50 miles east of Atlanta. So we're talking a huge area, number of people.
Yeah, I didn't know people just, can you pick and choose months that you do it?
I
you
think
could.
we
Yeah, we
can,
could.
and that's something that we can get Tony.
This
to-
contract that we just finished was a month-to-month deal. We could have stopped any time. So if we pick the months and we want to pick it ahead of, like if we want more people here in August, we need to make sure that we're talking June, July. You know. Maybe we don't need to start in March. Maybe we start May or June. You know. And then we could trim it. Because I don't think.
I think opposite, everything could put in like January, February, March, when people are at home watching TV and you can't get out, that's when they'd be more likely watching TV. I wouldn't think June, July, when people are outside doing stuff, but I don't know, I may be wrong.
So it's fair to say we'll consider all this stuff moving forward in our marketing
Yeah.
strategy.
But I mean, that's something we need to think about next month, because that's something we would have to get him on, because it's stopped already.
He could probably tell you which months to cut the higher with.
Yeah.
And moving on, and thank you for doing this. Also with the marketing, I think we need to, especially with the budget being at $100,000, we need to say how much we're gonna put towards grants, how much towards advertising. I think we kinda need to split it.
Yeah, how much are you gonna do for festivals? How much you gonna do for miscellaneous? Just kind of at least.
Budget it in those certain categories so that we don't go over and we're not running into next year's money.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any announcements?
I mean, there for a while when we had, just to show you the television, the Travel Channel, about 7 years ago now, did a thing on Gemini here.
And it was free.
Yeah.
It was free.
It was free, but they played that for 6
Over
years.
and over and over.
Over and over, and it would spike. We knew when it played.
Yeah,
We'd get
I
calls,
remember that.
how close are you to the Gemini?
Jim
Yeah.
Hines, they still do that.
You know, the farthest one is 20 minutes away. Wow, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make a reservation. So, I mean, those are the things that happened from one television.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was like, you get twitchy, wanting to know when they played it next. You know, so playing your money.
Is there any other announcements?
I'd just like to say something.
Okay.
I'm just considering the earlier funding requests to go to the fair. I'm disappointed in the board, considering just looking at our past and where we've been, what we've spent money on. I just think we're disregarding a good opportunity. I just want to say that. Thanks.
Okay. Next TDA meeting is going to be February 11th, 5:30 here at the town hall. And to the board, we can make sure that if they're not going to be here, to let us know in advance so that we know that if there's not a quorum, we can go ahead and cancel the meeting if we don't have enough people here. And please look over these grant requests and stuff for our next meeting. So I think there's nothing further. Meeting's adjourned. A motion.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
No,
Okay.
anybody who votes no can stay.